up, middle school? How y'all doing today? Good. Hey, super excited to be with y'all today. Y'all are stuck with me because Silas is on vacation. Boo. Right? No, just kidding. Silas is on vacation. He's down in Georgia and Florida visiting his family and his brother, and he's having a great time. But he asked me to speak this morning, and so I'm excited to be here with you guys. Did anybody participate in the Derby weekend? Anybody in the Derby weekend? Like whether you went to Derby or you went to a party or you watched horses race on the television, okay? Now, this is the really important question. The first question really wasn't important, but second, who thinks the Derby weekend is overrated? Thank you. Okay, give it up for yourselves. Give it up for yourselves. Give it up for yourselves. There's something about gambling in the Bible that's wrong, so no, I'm just kidding. Kind of not kidding. But super glad you guys are here today. Great turnout for 11 a.m. on Derby weekend. Y'all get rained on the way in? Anybody get rained on? Were most of you still sleeping? No? You weren't? All right. Well, it rained a ton on us during 9 a.m. service, and it was crazy out, but it's actually perfect because it rained on our mud pit in the back, and we're having Tribal Wars today, the last week. Who's going to be here for Tribal Wars? Let's go. You guys got to be here for it. Mud Wars, yes, it's okay to get dirty, to get muddy. Bring some clothes. Bring a change of clothes and a towel, and it's the last week, and then we're going to announce our winners, who gets to go on our water park day for free, okay? So if your team wins Tribal Wars, you get to go to that for free, all right? That's coming up in about a month. So you guys got to be here for that. Doors open at 3. It's going to be epic. As you guys saw on the screen, we're starting a new series, and Chaz came up with this bumper idea, and I love his creativity with that. And we're going to be talking about this series called Lambs Amongst Wolves. Now, how many of you, be honest, have ever heard or used the word amongst? All right? All right. Where did you hear the word before today? Drake, where'd you hear it?
Sometime in language class, probably.
Language class. All right. Grace Ann? And what is sixth period at school? It's school. Thanks. Homeschooler. All right. Okay, someone else. Where did you hear the word amongst? From the Bible, my man, reading the good old King James. Let's go. All right. Kurt, I can't ask Kurt again. He already said it last time. Oh, you got a different answer? All right. We always got to hear our Kurt line of the day.
I hear it when I listen to YouTube videos that have British guys.
Who here watches YouTube videos like Kurt? No, it's just messing. Hey, Kurt, send us the links for that, bro. That sounds really cool. By the way, you should check out Kurt's devotion videos he does, Day of Devotion, on all your socials. They're really good. Okay, one more, the word amongst. Sam.
Completely honest, among us.
Among Us. Had to. Does anybody still play that game? That was so 2020. That was 2020, and then it died, right, Maddie? It died. It shriveled up and it died. All right, so we're starting this new series. Listen up. We're starting this new series, and it all comes from Luke chapter 10, and the first 10 verses there, and it's the passage where Jesus is sending the disciples out, and he actually sends out more than disciples. He sends out 72 into the places where he wanted to go to spread the gospel, and he sent them out to go tell people about him. And in this passage, it talks about how when he sends them out, he says, you will be like lambs amongst wolves. And he said that because you'll be defenseless. You'll be helpless. You'll be in a world where you'll be persecuted and hurt and ridiculed for your faith. There's probably some people in the room that already know what that's like if you've really shared that you're a Christian with others, or you've really worked at being a witness for Jesus to bring people to Jesus. You know what it's like to be a lamb amongst wolves. The world is crafty, it's cunning. People in the world are vicious, and they don't care if you love Jesus or not. They care about their agenda. And so Jesus says, when I send you out, I'm going to send you out not alone. I'm going to send you out in pairs. I'm going to send you out to share my message, but you're going to be lambs amongst wolves. So we want to kick off this series today and talk a little bit about being willing to be a witness for God. And I want to ask you guys a question, really serious question. Don't answer it, don't raise your hand or shake your head or say anything to anybody right now, but I want you to just think about this because I want to come back to it at the end. Are you willing to be a witness for Jesus? Are you willing to be a witness for Jesus? Consider that question right now. Think about that. Are you willing to be a witness for Jesus? Somebody that really has lived out their life, especially the last several years, a witness for Jesus, is someone that's going to share with me today. Her name's Claire. She's an intern here at the church. Many of you guys know her. But if you would, she's going to come talk about herself a little bit. Give it up for my friend Claire. Give it up, guys.
All right.
Massive ovation. I've never had that ovation, so.
I know. I just heard
stage is
Katie
yours.
Katie and Zoe. Okay. Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Claire, like Luke said. I'm a senior at Jeff High this year, and I've also been interning at the church, like Luke said. So I've specifically been interning under youth ministry. So, hanging out with you guys and learning, what it looks like to, work in youth ministry and invest in the lives of students. So since I'm a senior, obviously I'm going to college. But next year I'm going to Milligan University with hopefully a degree in biblical studies, just on track to pursue ministry and hopefully student ministry in general. So how I came to Eastside, I actually have been coming here since I was in 7th grade, but I didn't really get plugged into the youth ministry until I was in 8th grade. Are there any 8th graders in here? Okay, represent.
They're showing out.
8th grade was a special year for me because of this. So I attended an event called Axia. A lot of you guys have heard of it. It's a big middle school overnighter event. It's crazy. But Axia 2019, just God really spoke to me. And that night I gave my life to Jesus. And then ever since then, that really just kind of kickstarted my faith and serving for the Lord. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm excited to share with you guys today and just help Luke out with this message.
Let's go. Guys, give it up for Claire. So, I got a question for you guys. What is something in your life that brings you comfort? Something that brings you comfort. Maybe it's a stuffed animal, maybe it's a blanket, maybe it's food. Yeah, something that brings you comfort. Sitting in silence. Man, your life sounds exciting, Sam. I love it. Yeah, my man.
Laying in bed with my cat.
Okay, hanging out with the cat. All right, pets can be comforting. Yeah, Brooklyn? Being with your older sister. Aw.
Oh, so nice.
That's so good. Yes, Elise.
Skylar.
Her and music.
Aw, the person sitting next to you in music. I love that. Let's go one more. Yes. Yeah. Hunting, nice. Okay, now be honest, all right? Especially the guys in the room that are going to be super weird about this question, insecure about it. How many of you still have that stuffed animal you had as a kid, all right? Have one of those stuffed animals? A stuffed animal on your bed, right? All the 8th grade guys, after everyone else in the house falls asleep, they grab the stuffed animal under the bed and then they cuddle with it. Who's got that blanket or pillow that they've had for years? That is so nasty, all right? No, my daughter has one that she doesn't use much anymore, thankfully. I hid it. But she got it when she was like 1, and that thing is so dirty. It's been bleached and washed so many times. But most of us have something like that or have had something like that, right? I mean, I remember doing some marriage counseling with one of my best friends last year before I married him and his wife, and randomly in the marriage counseling, this question came up about, just things that you're bringing with you into the marriage. And one of the things that she said was, she's like, well, I got my blanket that I've had since I was a kid. And my friend Chase, he went on to describe yeah, that thing is so gross. And that's going to be I'm going to burn that thing once we get married, and all these funny things they said about it. And then she went on to say that her dad still had a pillow that he had as a kid that he still sleeps with every single night. And he's 50 years old. And it's literally like a rag, okay? So gross, all right? I hope none of you have that today. If you do, you need to repent of your sin, okay? But the bottom line is everybody here's got something that brings them comfort, if it's not one of those things that are, kind of kiddish, maybe it's food, maybe it's your favorite shows, maybe it's something that you do, like, or a social network you have on your phone. Maybe it's being with friends that brings you comfort. Maybe it is just being in solitude and being quiet, being alone. There's lots of things in our life that bring us comfort, right? Lots of things. And I think there's a lot of things that God gave us to enjoy. But there's a danger when those things become primary in our life, when those things, the comforts in our life, become the things that we always go to, right? And typically they are those things. Those things that you guys mentioned, or things that haven't been mentioned, those are the things that we gravitate toward when we're alone, when we're afraid, when we feel like we lost a friend or we're struggling through something. We go to the things that are most comfortable, right? Like for me, I know one of my comforts is sweets, okay? I love me some cookie dough ice cream, okay? I love cookie dough ice cream, okay? If I had it in my house every day, I would eat it every single day, so I can't have it in my house. Or if I do, I have to hide it from everybody so I can eat it all. But like sweets are a comfort to me. So if I don't want to just like be addicted to those things or be focused on things all the time, I have to remove them from my life. There's a danger when we become so comfortable with things in life that we forget what we were really made for. And this series, Lambs Amongst Wolves, is all about being a witness for Jesus and your willingness to do that. And so a question I have for you guys is, have you become comfortable in your faith? Have you become comfortable in your declaration or saying, hey, I'm a Christian, but you become so comfortable that you can't remember the last time you shared some of that with someone at school? Or you shared that as a witness, or you brought somebody to church, you made that invitation? The other day, I asked my life group in high school ministry, I said, guys, be honest with me. I said, how many of you know that people around you at your school, if I just pick 10 people at your school, do they know you're a Christian? And that was a hard question for them to answer. Some of them were really struggling with that. They're like, yeah, I kind of just fade in. I kind of just I'm camouflaged. I'm just kind of do my own thing. It's hard to be a witness for Jesus, especially if you're on your own. It's hard to be a witness for Jesus, especially if you're on your own. So Claire and I want to share a couple of truths with you guys. The first one comes from Matthew 18, verse 20. And it says this. Matthew 18, verse 20 says this. For where 2 or 3 gather together as my followers, I am there among them. All right, there's that word among again. For where 2 or 3 gather together, I am there among them. That means that you weren't purposed, made, created, loved to be alone. You weren't made to go alone. You weren't made to be a witness alone. How many of you, be really honest with me, raise your hand, if being a witness for Jesus and really just talking about him openly is hard to do all by yourself? Just raise your hand. Be honest if that's hard for you to do by yourself. All right? If you're not raising your hand, you probably misunderstood the question. Because for probably every single person in the room, in some way or another, it's difficult for you to be a witness for Jesus. Because even if you're like, man, I can share Jesus, I can do that. I'm not afraid of that. But what about the ways in your life that you become so comfortable, so focused on you? I struggle with that a lot. Pride, just so focused on what I want to do, that I forget I was made to be a witness for Jesus. Don't go at it alone. Claire, tell us a little bit about how God kind of did that in your life and reminded you it's not about being alone with your witness.
Yeah, so I've had a few of my friends in my life that are not believers, and we've me and my friend, I have a good friend Bailey, and I have a good friend named Skylar, and so those two are really just, go at it with me when it comes to just bringing my friends in. So I have 2 examples I'm going to share with you guys. So one of them is our good friend Grace. She moved here from Oregon about a year ago now, right? Okay, she shook her head. And so her and her family were already Christians, but she has a younger sister named Shay, too. And I remember the day that she got here, we were just so excited. We, swarmed them at Guest Point. But just ever since we've, been friends with her, we've just been pouring into her and her sister, and just tried to help them, grow closer in their relationship with Jesus. And, they do Bible studies with us now, and, we just love them, and they're a great, addition to our friend group. And another good example that I have is me and Bailey had these two friends named Emily and Alexis, and they started coming here like in 2021. And we just, again, took them under our wing and just tried to help them, understand, the gospel and who Jesus is. And I remember, like, one day we were, like, praying over here in a circle all together. And I remember, like, they made that decision to be baptized, and they asked me and Bailey to be a part of it. So it is hard, to go out sometimes with your friends, but, the reward is just so good because then they know Jesus. So, yeah, and then for motion night coming up, how this could be something really good for you guys to do, and could be, success, with teaming up with some of your friends. Like, if I know a lot of the girls, 8th grade girls, go to Silver Creek. What would it be like if you guys team up and you go get, somebody that's, lost, and, bring them to church for motion?
That's cool. Claire, thanks for sharing those examples. I remember moving down here to Eastside. I got here in 2020, and I actually remember when I first started to get to know Claire and some of her friends. They were sophomores. They were coming to church and wanted to help out and serve. And I remember hearing about the way that God was using Claire to be a witness for God, and how that really stuck out to me because she wasn't doing it alone. And so if you're here today and you're thinking, I don't know how to share Jesus with somebody, the first thing you need to remember is you don't have to do it alone, and you weren't created to do it alone. Whether you're a new Christian, a growing Christian, or you've been a Christian for a long time and you're still growing, you weren't made to do that by yourself. Did you guys know that? You weren't made to do that by yourself. That's why when you come together here right now on Sunday morning, you come Sunday nights, events, motion nights, all the things we do, camp. That's why when you're together, you get excited because you guys share something in common together, and that's you are believers for one purpose. And so we can't forget that we have to lean on each other in ways, I'm sure, Claire, that you haven't been as bold or have been scared in your faith. Your friends have helped you with that, right? Like, your friends have helped you in ways that you need to grow. And so, guys, it's just so important that you know, if you're going to be a witness for Christ, and only you can answer that, are you really going to be a witness and an example for Christ? Are you going to do that alone? And is that going to be a struggle? Or are you going to say, man, I'm going to find my people. I'm going to find my tribe. I'm going to find the people around me. And we're going to team up and we're going to do this together. God calls us to do it together. Another really important thing we have to remember is that we don't depend on ourselves when it comes to being a witness for the gospel. We never depend on ourselves. If you think, I can do this, or I can take this person and that person, we can be a witness, and it just is about you guys doing it, then you're going to fail. Because if you depend on anything else but God and being a witness for Christ, your witness won't be effective. You have to depend on God. That's our second point we want to share with you about today a little bit. You got to depend on God. You got to depend on Him. You got to trust in Him. Claire went through some really hard things in her life. And please, guys, listen in as she tells a little bit of her story, what happened last year when God helped show her how to depend on her. Check out her story.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share a little bit of a story about a time in my life where I had to really depend on God and really lean in on, who He is and His promises. So this is a pretty big part of my testimony. Like, some of you guys already know this already, but last year, a couple of my really good friends and I were in a very bad car accident, and I was pretty hurt. I was pretty injured. So I went to the hospital that night. They fixed me up. I thought everything was fine. But it was not. I ended up having some pretty severe stomach issues going on, had a lot of stomach pain. So I went back to the ER a week to the day of the wreck. And another pretty big part about my story and just who I am, I have a chronic illness. It's called Crohn's disease, so it affects like my intestines. And I've had it for like 5 years. So with that surgery, what was going on with my stomach, there was a tear in there. It's called a perforation. And Zoe was like, what? And so that, you do not want that. So when they were going in to repair my stomach, they noticed that I had some inflammation like right by the area that was perforated. So it was kind of a God thing, because when they went to repair that, they could repair that too. And then ever since then, I've been in remission, which basically means I still have Crohn's, but there's no symptoms. So I've been in remission for like 10 months now, which is crazy. Yeah, it's really cool, all by the goodness of God, because I used to have really bad symptoms for a long time. A lot of my friends know. They walked right by me through it every single day, and so it's just cool. But I just want to share a time in my life where I really had to depend on the Lord. And I know a lot of you guys are probably having trials going on, and just always, I just want to encourage you to just always rely on God, because he is good. And in my life, he's a healer. And, he can heal you guys too. So, but also with that, if we don't depend on the Lord in our own lives, when things are going wrong in our lives, it's going to be harder to depend on God, when we're trying to go out and, get the lost. So
Yeah, that's powerful. Guys, give it up for Claire for sharing something so real and personal about her life. I remember seeing her after she went through all that, being in the hospital, and I hope it's okay for me to share, Claire, but I mean, it was difficult, right? It was dark. It was a struggle to get through that, because you're just like, I can't believe this happened. What's going to happen with these surgeries and my illness and all this stuff. But the amazing thing, guys, about that is that God showed Claire that he's always faithful to her. And if you don't think right now in your life that God is faithful to you and that you can depend on him, then how could God help you be a witness for him? It starts with who you are. You got to know who you are in Christ, that God made you, he loves you, he's for you, no matter what comes your way. No matter what comes your way. And that faith and dependence on God will grow you so that you can become a more effective witness for him. It's about trusting in him. Trusting in him in the bad times, trusting him in the good times, and the ones that are in between. Where are you at right now in your trust with God? If you think, man, I don't know how I can share Jesus with others, maybe you need to look back at the basics and say, do I really trust God? Do I really know that he's walking beside me every single day? I love this verse, Isaiah 41:13. It's such a good reminder of this, guys. It says this, for I hold you by your right hand. God, he says it. I hold you by your right hand. I, the Lord your God, and I say to you, don't be afraid. I'm here to help you. So the same God who created this world, who does miracles, who has worked throughout history to show us he is the only God in this universe that we can trust, that we can follow. That same God says, I want to hold you by your right hand. That's the person, that's the personal side of who God is. He says, I want to take you by your right hand. Are you guys good? All right. He says, I want to take you by your right hand, and I don't want you to be afraid of me. He said, I don't want you to be afraid no matter what comes your way, because he says, I will be with you. I'll be with you wherever you go. And so if you're not doing your life with Jesus alone, you have other people that are encouraging you, and you're learning to better trust and depend on him, imagine what God can do with your witness. Imagine what God could do with you by bringing your lost friend to emotion night, by praying for them, by going out with your friends and reaching as many as you can to become part of our family here, by just making a difference by the way you act, the way you speak around your peers, not just trying to fit in, but to be who God created you to be. We have to depend on God. If we depend on him, everything around us will change. It's not an easy fix. It's not an easy click. Oh, and I just did that. I just depend on God. It's not even just a decision right now in your mind where you're just like, hey, I'm going to depend on God. It is every single day, guys. Every single day, depending on him. That's who he wants to be for you. The God that you look to as Lord of your life, he is in control of your life, is the same God who says, I'm personal. I want to take you by your hand, and I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me, and I want you to follow me. There's one more command that Jesus gives in this first section of this passage, and it's the command to go. He says, go, and that's because going and being a witness is not an option. It's not an option, guys. If you're really going to be a true disciple of Jesus, and you're not just going to be another Christian, you're not just going to be another person that got baptized into your faith, and you go to church and you do the right things or say the right things. If you want to be a real disciple of Jesus, then you have to go. It's a command, it's not an option. And that's what's so hard, not just for people your age and our age and adults, everybody. It's not just so hard to just, it's hard for everybody to actually live out that command. Because so often we think, oh, like I just got to believe. I just got to have faith. And that's where it starts. You have to believe in something you can't see. You have to believe in who God is and what he's done. But your belief has to turn into action. That's where our faith is lived out, in the actions we take. So do you want to really be a disciple of Jesus? Do you want to meet Jesus someday? Face to face. You'll meet each of us face to face, guys. And do you want him to look at you when he says to you, what did you do in my name? What did you do for the least of these? What did you do for the lost? Do you want to look at Jesus then and just be like, Jesus, I try to do everything I could to reach my friends for you. I try to do everything I could to be a witness. I had people around me. I depended on you. I lived out that command of going. How will that question be answered for you? Only you can walk that out and live that out. But I want you guys to think about it. What is the command? It's go. It's go be a witness. It's go make a difference. In a world full of wolves and people who are against Christ and people who are against God's goodness and against what is right before God, you and I are like sheep. We are like sheep. And all we can do is trust in God with our witness. Claire, share with everybody a little bit about what that command of going has been like for you.
Yeah, I like what Luke said about how, we're called to be the sheep, in a world of wolves. And it's just hard to, be among that sometimes. And sometimes a call of go in our life can be difficult, like Luke said. But we are called, as Christians, we're called to be set apart. And I'm sure you guys have heard of that before. And, we're called to be in this world, but we can't be of this world because it's just important to be set apart, just like the Lord calls us to be. But sometimes I know, like, sharing the gospel for me, it can be intimidating. Even if I am with other people, sometimes I'll just get too nervous or I'll be like, oh, my friend can do it. But the Lord calls each and every one of us, to go and to, make disciples and to bring people to Jesus. And, it's hard to be bold sometimes and go out and reach the lost. But, the Lord is, he's going to be, proud. And the reward is, good. Your friends are going to know Jesus. It's important for you guys to plant the seed, but then for God to do the watering.
Yeah, that's really good because I think about different students, Claire being one of them, but different students in ministry that I've seen that have lived out that command of going and what that not only feels like, but what the reality of it is when you lead someone to Christ. Each of you, if you've given your life to Jesus, have the ability to lead somebody to Jesus. And God has a person for you guys. He's got a person for you. If you don't already know who they are, you just need to ask him. But God wants to use you as a witness. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be a pastor. You don't have to be an intern, but if you're an intern, interns are pretty cool. You don't have to have any certain qualification. You just have to be a believer and a follower of God to lead somebody else to know Jesus. And so that command, it's not easy. Like Claire shared about that, it's not easy. Your witness, It's not going to be easy. If you say today, if you say, man, I'm drawing a line in the sand, my life's going to look different when it comes to being a witness. I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to depend on God, and I'm going to go. It's not going to be easy, guys. You're going to be out there like sheep, and there's going to be people, influences, things said, things done to try and tear you apart as a witness for Jesus. When Satan sees followers of Jesus get serious about their faith, you know what he does? He steps on the gas. He comes after you. He's already after you guys right now. But if you start living your life for Jesus, and I've seen you guys grow here, and I've heard about you guys growing outside of here, but if you really take that to the next level, man, he's going to come after you. And if you don't have these foundational core truths of Jesus sending us out together, depending on him, going, being that witness, not being afraid, knowing nothing can stop the witness inside of me because of him. Nothing that anybody says, nothing anybody does, nothing that the world tells you need to be or how you need to live, none of that can come between you and God when you depend on him. And so our encouragement to you guys today as we get ready to go to table groups here in a minute goes back to that question. Are you willing to be a witness for Jesus? You know, when we started the motion night thing, we did one back in January. We got one coming up in 2 weeks. The goal of that was to help you be a witness for Jesus, an invitation. You do that with your friends. You go bring people to a place where they can hear about and experience the love of Jesus. And that's just a small step, but it's a step. It's a step that you can take. It's a step you can say, man, today, I'm going to bring this person. I'm going to bring these friends. Nothing's going to get in my way. I'm going to be a witness for Jesus and ask God for other ways that he can help you be a witness. I know you guys are about to finish up school. Let's go for summer. But don't let that be a time, summer, where you let off the gas when it comes to your faith. Really, go deep, guys. Ask yourself that question right now and every day. Are you willing to be a witness for Jesus? Claire, would you please pray that all of us here in this room can just be better witnesses for Jesus?
Yeah, all right. If you guys want to go ahead and bow your heads. Dear God, thank you so much just for bringing us all together here this morning. I just want to pray for each of these students and just that they know how to, go out and be a witness for their friends, for people on their team, maybe even for people in their own homes, God. I just want to pray that, you give them the courage and the boldness just to go out and reach the lost so they can make disciples of their friends. Thank you so much just for all you did for us on the cross. In your name I pray. Amen.